Now welcoming into the huddle, Los Angeles Chargers star running back Austin Ekeler. Austin, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me on, boys. Looking forward to it.
Austin, I want to ask you about fantasy football because I think one thing that's really cool about your brand and sort of how you've marketed yourself off the field is your relation to fantasy because we know how big it is nowadays. And sometimes players can kind of be annoyed by that, I think, but it's really cool how you just almost embraced it. So what's sort of your whole relationship been like with sort of the fantasy space and the fantasy community?
Yeah, I'm really attracted to different, things that build communities and different things that bring people together because I've realized the power in the community, and I think we can see that played out, countless times across just any day life, and especially in football, like the football fans of the logos, fans of fantasy, like they're super passionate about the sport. And when it comes to fantasy football, there are no logos that are involved, right? It's just players. And so that's where the real power comes in as an individual, because if you're on someone's team, they don't care necessarily what team you play for. They care about you. They care about Austin Ekeler doing well. They don't care if the Chargers win or lose. They care if Austin Ekeler does well. And, that's not necessarily how my mindset is, but the fact that that's where they're coming from, like, I'm like, yeah, like, let's go. Like, you're rooting for me. And so for me, it's low hanging fruit. I see it as low hanging fruit as far as an opportunity to connect with people that care about me, whether it's, for, right reasons or wrong, they care about me. And that's why I embrace it, because it's an opportunity for me to connect with people and put myself in front of them in a different light other than football. I can use fantasy football as the vehicle to get me in front of people. And then when I get in front of people, now it's like, okay, what can you give me? And so that's where, I've built an app, I have my foundation, I have my restaurant. And so I'm like using fantasy as a driver to actually leverage these other things that I'm building and, staying intact with. Even my show, right? I have my fantasy show called Ekeler's Edge. And with that, it's an opportunity for me to have an audience that wants to listen to me talk about fantasy football. But for me, it's an opportunity for me to, practice my speaking, practice, being a host and things like that. So I think there's so many different benefits. I wish, and I'm actually trying to come up with a way for us to actually monetize this, because there's billions of dollars that are spent on sports betting every single year, including fantasy football, and we get $0 from it as players. I get no benefit. So that's why a lot of guys don't care. That doesn't benefit me in any way. Zero ways. Maybe indirectly, because it maybe makes the game a little bit more popular. So maybe it's like an indirect benefit. But there's no direct benefit from fantasy football for players. We have to go out and actually create it. So like that's what I've done. I've created these opportunities for myself using fantasy.
That's really interesting, and I'm excited to see that next evolution of it from that standpoint for the players, because I think that's so unique, and that's not a perspective a lot of fans would actually think about when it comes to fantasy. You
Yeah.
talked about making connections. Is there maybe, because we know fantasy football is so big, and I know on your podcast you've had a lot of players on it and talking about fantasy, but maybe a surprise, whether it's a player or celebrity that you've had a run in that you found out played fantasy football or asked you for advice, came straight to you from your show?
At this point, I'm not surprised, if everyone plays fantasy. Like I assume now at this point, like
Everyone
everyone plays
does.
fantasy football, like
Yeah.
if you're around the sport, if you kind of have like a competitive group, and you play fantasy, I'm not surprised if you do. Like my girlfriend now, who knows nothing about football, sorry, let me take that back. My fiance now, as of recently, yeah, is on a fantasy football team now. And so it's like she knows nothing about football, but that's why fantasy football is great. It brings people together, even if you don't know, because it's like a competitive way to connect with your coworkers. But um advice this came from, I think the best advice ever that came from my show, um and it wasn't just for an individual, but I think it was like 2 years ago, or maybe it was, yeah, 2 years ago. I think I ended up getting COVID, so maybe it was 3 years ago, and I was telling everybody on the show, like, you guys, I have COVID, like, make sure you pick up Justin Jackson. And he ended up like scoring like 30 points that game, popped off a few
Remember that game? Yeah.
catches. Yeah, 2 touchdowns. And so everyone was saying, thanks, man, thanks, coming to the show. And so that's probably the best advice that actually went and played itself out, that I can remember. So yeah.
It's a good one.
I'm actually playing against you in a couple leagues in fantasy this week. I'm not going to say I'm rooting against you because I'm definitely not. I am rooting for you. You're allowed to put as many points as you want up against my team. But I want to ask you about fantasy names because I think that's where sometimes people like to have a lot of fun and even intertwine them with some of their favorite players. So we've compiled a list of some of the best Chargers themed names. Some of them are Austin Ekeler themed, some Herbert.
Nice.
We're going to read a couple of them for you. And if you want to give them like maybe a rating at a 10 or something, just some of your thoughts.
Yeah.
But we'll start off with the X-Men. And that is X as in EKS.
It's too played out. It's too played out. So I'm gonna give it a 5 for average. Like it's creative, but it's it'll do. But yeah.
Okay.
I give it a 5.
Let's go with Justin Herbert here. Rainbow Sherbert.
Rainbow Sherbert. For your fantasy, you're playing Rainbow Sherbert. I give it a 6. I give it a 6. It's creative.
Okay.
It's creative. Yeah.
I like this one because it shows love to a defensive player, and I think defensive players don't get enough love in this fantasy space. Derwin Games. So you're winning games with Derwin James and Derwin Games.
Yeah, if there was any relevance for, I guess if you have the Chargers defense, I guess, or something like that. No, I like that one. I give it an 8. 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back to you here. Shipping up to Austin.
That's the name. Say it again.
Wait. I guess
Maybe I don't
people
get the reference.
There it is. So there's a song called "Shipping Up to Boston" by the Dropkick Murphys. Very popular song by them. So that's one. If it hits, it hits. But if it doesn't, then it doesn't.
I am not familiar with the Dropkick Murphys.
That is fair. That is fair.
So I want to rate that one then.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, we'll do just 2 more. This one is an old quarterback of yours, the Rivers family.
That's bad.
That's bad.
That's bad. I give it a 2.
2. Okay.
I love it. That's great. Last one. We'll go back to Herbert here. Shoddy.
Okay.
It's Herbert Day.
That is so creative. Go Shoddy. It's Herbert Day. Wow. Well done. It's kind of long, but just for the creativeness, I'll give it a 7. But it's way too long. Wow. I don't even know that you're gonna get that character count. You're gonna max it out. You're not even gonna be using that name, So
you're right. You probably won't be. Hey,
but I'm a harsh critic. What can I say?
You know what? Knowing that, the 7 out of 10, that stands out. Like we're into that. That works for us.
Nice.
That totally works for us. We got a couple more fantasy related questions for you. Larry David, I don't know if you've heard the rant, but he was on the Rich Eisen show just ranting about how he absolutely hates kickers in fantasy football and that they should be removed from not only fantasy football, but he even took it a step further and was like, just take out the goalposts in football. Like they just kick the ball. They're playing a different sport. So I'm passionate about having kickers in fantasy football leagues, but do you hate that rant from Larry David? Do you agree with something as strongly stanced as that?
Yeah, I definitely don't agree with that. Like keep kicking in the game. Like if you're on the 40-yard line, then you need points. Like you just Hail Marys then. Like
I don't get it.
Nah, that ain't it. I think it adds an element to the game that makes it a little bit more strategic. It's not as dumbed down, I guess. That you can kick the ball, right? You can score from. It's almost like not. You can have like some fallback to use to score. You don't have to score touchdowns every single time. So I think, like I said, I think it adds an element that makes the game more competitive and more strategic, which is an advantage to the interestingness of the game. And so definitely keep kickers around on fantasy as well. I actually drafted a kicker in like the 7th round in my fantasy analyst. I took Tucker.
It's a smart pick. He's the best kicker.
I'm like, this is my my sleeper pick. He's gonna win me some games. He's gonna win me 1 or 2 games this season. Watch.
He definitely will. I was rattled that our league finally they decided against me. I was the only one that voted for kickers in our 12-team league, and they took him out. So I am on the kickers should be in fantasy football hill. I'm with you there.
Love it.
Appreciate that.
Just before we close, we want to play a quick game of start, bench, cut. Now, I think the Los Angeles Chargers have far and away the nicest set of uniforms in the NFL, but I think it would be tough to choose individually between the three. I'm talking about the powder blue, sort of darker navy blue, and the white jersey. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. Start, bench, cut the 3 Chargers uniforms.
Well, I think that the powder blue is like a classic. But I do, man, the navies are my favorite.
Ooh,
Really? Wow.
okay.
The navies are my favorite, but the white does look clean. And we don't wear the navy that much, and I don't really have a lot of shoes to match it. So even though it's my favorite, I don't think it's the one that looks consistently good with our team. Maybe just I like it in the mirror. So I'm actually going to cut that one.
Okay.
I think we go with Old Reliable for start, which is the white, all white. I think it's clean. And then we'll bench the powder blues.
Okay. I think I agree with that.
I'm all in the
You're on
powder blue. I
blues,
think
you're
the
on
powder blue
Yeah.
is like
Okay.
is the best.
They're nice. They're really nice. Well,
The combo I really don't like is the powder blue tops and the yellow pants. I'm just
that's my favorite.
That's your
my
favorite?
that might be my
man.
favorite combo in the
Nah.
entire NFL, in NFL history maybe. I just think it's so nice.
Okay. I mean, they're all good, but that's my least favorite.
I know we got 2 minutes left. We'll rapid fire a couple of start bench cuts here for you. Fantasy drafting or league styles. Keeper, auction, dynasty. Start bench cut.
Wow, I've never played a keeper league. I've only played standard.
Okay.
So that's all I've ever played. So I'll take that one, and you can, pair
Get
the
rid
other
of the
ones.
other ones. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then last one, fictional running backs. We got Nelly from The Longest Yard, LL Cool J from Any Given Sunday, and let's go with Smash Williams or Tim Riggins. That combo, you can pick either one from Friday Night Lights.
Ooh, I think I just like the movie, The Longest Yard, more than the other ones, because of the comedic aspect in it. So I'm gonna go with Nelly, and I'm a fan of his music too. So I'll start him. And then we'll go Friday Night Lights. We'll cut that one and put the other one in the middle for the bench.
LL Cool J. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Cool,
a
cool,
good
cool.
choice. Longest Yard, underrated football movie in my opinion. I
I just think it's funny. I like the comedic approach that they have on it. Yeah,
Awesome.
good stuff.
Great stuff, Austin. We want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us today, and we wish you the best of luck this NFL season.
I appreciate it. Thanks, boys.